your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Both and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings.
Statistics, they can be like bathing suits. What they, what.
Finish it up. Sometimes you gotta take them off.
What the hell?
What they show is revealing, but what they conceal is vital, right? So,
hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Monday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn here to talk about Monday's practice number 4 for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll have the practice report. We'll send it to the Stone Cold Newsman. We'll talk about things we've learned through the first 4 days. But really, tonight is about sleepless nights. Tonight is about being excited for tomorrow. Because tomorrow, Zach, the pads go on. And it's not really football until you can hit somebody. Am I right?
Well, it is going to be an exciting practice, right? I mean, the pads come on. You and an astute observer of practice will be there front and center for O-line, D-line, which, they had it today.
For the first time today. Very
with
exciting.
Shoulder pads on. But as Marissa can probably tell us, it's better when it's full padded, right? So they will be out there tomorrow full pads, and it'll be a good day to really ascertain or evaluate the linemen as opposed to the skill guys. These first 3-4 days have been mostly about skill guys. Tomorrow, that's when you start evaluating the guys wearing the Guardian hats.
The big, strong, powerful men. Marissa, how you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was great. Caught up on the Jeter documentary. I actually watched it twice. So obviously that was a great weekend. Yeah, it was beautiful here in Northeast Ohio, so can't complain. How about you guys?
Great. And nothing else going on in Cleveland related to football. We will stay away from anything that could be. So,
Yep.
let's
beautiful
focus on
sunny
the Eagles.
weekend.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I heard there's no live tackling at Eagles practice, so obviously that's got to be talked about.
That's right. Zach.
Yes.
Do you mind if we send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman? I don't know if you need to jump into the phone booth like Clark Kent. Now, do you know who Clark Kent is?
Of course, big Superman fan.
Okay, so hop into your phone booth as we now prepare to send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman for the latest from the NovaCare complex and all the happenings as the Philadelphia Eagles continue training camp.
Eagles 6th round pick Grant Calcaterra has a hamstring injury. He is out for there's no definitive timetable yet, but Coach Nick Sirianni said they will be cautious with his recovery. So he is sidelined right now. Good news for the Eagles. Defensive tackle Milton Williams back at practice today on a limited basis. He had an elbow injury that sidelined him in Saturday's session. Other than that, Zach Pascal, an injury to monitor there, has a stomach illness that required hospitalization, apparently. He is on the mend. It sounds like he's getting better, but still no word on his recovery there. And other than that, really, there's no major news. The Eagles have stayed relatively healthy. No transactions yet to date.
Back to you in the studio.
Back to you in the studio.
All right. Zach, have you ever had food poisoning?
I have never had. Well, it's interesting you frame it that way. No, I don't think I've had
Why? Why is that interesting?
Well, I've had meals that might not agree with me, but I won't know if I would consider them.
Yeah, I think you would know if you've had food poisoning.
Right. Exactly. So I've never had the type of food poisoning that you see when a player's out. I've had I'm not going to go to this restaurant again type meals, right?
Okay. Only once in my life have I had true food poisoning, and it was a terrible night spent, sleeping at the floor of the toilet, waking up every few minutes. Tough scene. Probably shouldn't have eaten that leftover shrimp that had not been refrigerated. Bad job by a 20-year-old college student. Stupid thing to do. Marissa, how about you?
I have not, but Michael got food poisoning on Thanksgiving, not at my house. I'll just say that. Early on in us dating, and he can't look at turkey the same. So
Oh no!
yeah, really rough.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, like that's his favorite holiday. So yeah,
Mine
the
as well.
stuffing was cooked in the turkey, and like you're not supposed to do that. And he loves stuffing, so he had a lot of stuffing.
That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the dry stuffing.
Yep. So yeah, I fortunately have not experienced that, but I've had to witness him experience it. So not great, but.
Now, was it a multi-day affair for Michael? You don't have to put him out to on blast here, but was it one bad night?
It was like a day and a half.
Oof.
Yeah.
Did he like lose weight? Was it in the middle of a football season?
No, it must have been a year that he was like hoping to get picked back up because he was home.
Okay.
I just spoiled where he got the I was trying to spare that, but
I was gonna say, if readers want to know about that journey, they can read Bo's story on Marissa and Michael that appeared on The Athletic last summer.
Yeah,
I don't think the food poisoning anecdote made it in there, but
yeah,
by all means.
Bo, I'm curious what you're doing going with shrimp in Winston-Salem. I would not expect like Winston-Salem.
Well, actually, this was Greensboro. It was the summer after I graduated college. Okay. I mean, you're a dumb. I mean, you can get good Thai food in lots of places, but yeah, I mean, wasn't the smartest move I ever made. It was after I remember it very vividly. It was after we saw The Dark Knight. So summer of 2008.
And it was a dark night for you.
It was very
well done, Marissa.
For me.
Good work.
That's exactly right. Weird deal I had that summer. Interning at the Business Journal, the Triad newspaper, and living with a random roommate. Couple months. That was my summer.
How did that random roommate take the food poisoning?
For some reason he was gone that night, so I did have the house to myself, which was probably for the best.
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely for the best.
Yeah, definitely for the best. All right. Yeah, a lot of throwing up. Okay, good way to start the pod.
Yeah, what a weird way.
Talk early and often here.
Yes.
And of course, Zach Pascal, the one who is dealing with that for the Eagles. All right, Zach, you were at the behind the wheel for the report today, so let's get into the Quackness report. As you alluded to, we saw O-line, D-line one-on-ones for the first time, but let's start with the macro perspective. I would say through 3 days, we said offense won the first day, defense won the second day and the third day. How did you fare? How would you call it if you were a boxing judge on day 4, offense versus defense?
Draw. Right?
Okay. 9-9 if you're a boxing judge?
Yeah, slight lean, perhaps toward the offense. But you know what? As I'm thinking about it, I thought if you're evaluating Jalen Hurts, and I did a lot of Jalen Hurts watching today, I thought he was efficient, right? I thought you asked Nick Sirianni a really good question, or a question that got a really good answer before practice about the interceptions. And
I agree. It was a better answer than question.
And Nick Sirianni brought us through each of Jalen Hurts' 3 interceptions, because his evaluation of the quarterbacks, or of the passing game rather, through the first 3 days was that you want to cut down on the turnovers. Well, there were no turnovers today. There were only 2 incompletions from what I jotted down. I should say it was a heavier running day than maybe some other days. But, there were a lot of short intermediate passes, and Jalen didn't go downfield too often. And what I wrote in the practice observations is there frankly might be Sundays this fall where that's what the Eagles want from Jalen, right? Efficient, put the ball in a spot where A.J. Brown can run after the catch. A.J. Brown had a slant that he was in position to run after the catch. There was a play early on in practice when Jalen stepped up into the pocket, threw to Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had some ground in front of him to run. The Eagles, when they're talking about big plays or explosive plays, it might be coming with yards after the catch as opposed to those deep shots downfield. So that's what jumped out to me there with the 2 incompletions. One that it was the Dallas Goedert, and it seemed slightly underthrown. And then there was another one. I don't know if it was a miscommunication or an overthrown pass.
Or a Mr. Communication.
But it was to A.J. Brown along the right sideline where you were standing. So you probably had a good vantage point there. Defensively, and I know you'll probably get to this, I thought the story of the day, and this was the lead of the practice observations, was Jordan Davis jumped out. Like I wrote Jordan Davis. You can't watch Jordan Davis in practice and not notice him, right? Because he's such a big guy. But he made plays on the ball today. He stuffed the run early on. There was a play that I didn't know if it was a sack or if they allowed Hurts to pass it. But he was in the backfield cleaning up there, and the fact that he penetrated was a good sign in a game that's either a sack or at the least a quarterback hit. Like he was right there. So that's a good sign. I thought for Jordan Davis. This was of the 4 days the best Jordan Davis day,
and he got reps with the first team for the first time.
Yes,
and I think that has a lot to do with Milton Williams is down and Fletcher Cox is sort of in and out at the moment. So don't read too much into it. But yeah, I thought I would agree that this was of the 4 days of camp. This was the first day where Jordan Davis was a focal point.
Yes.
To the point you were talking about Jalen Hurts and Sirianni's answer, I thought that was a good overview of the kinds of things we've talked about. So he's had 3 interceptions in team periods. On the first day, he had that one to the left corner of the end zone where it was like a one-on-one route between Goddard and Marcus Epps, and Goddard looked like he had a little bit of a step right away, and Epps made a really nice play and cut in front of the ball, made a nice interception. Sirianni said that was like he should have made a better throw. The ball should have maybe come out a little bit sooner, but that was like a mistake you live with. I'm not so sure that like if it was actually a red zone, in the regular season, you wouldn't really want that. But that was like a better play by Marcus Epps than it was a bad decision by Hurts. There was the interception from Avonte Maddox on the second day of practice where Sirianni said he would like to see Hurts check that one down. And otherwise, like the throw could have been a little better. He said you probably live with some mistakes inside the pocket more than you do bad decisions. And that's why the one interception of the 3 that really rankled him and they want to correct is the one from Saturday when Jalen Hurts was rolling to his left and sort of tried to fire a ball into a tight window across his body, and Andre Sacheret made the interception. And that was the one where, that was the one they really don't want to see. And, my question was like, is this an opportunity for him to like try things and see if they work, or do you want him to be treating every rep like it is a game rep? And my understanding was that like he's not really super interested in him trying things. He wants him to make the right decisions because this is practice for making those decisions when the Nerf bullets are live.
I would agree with that assessment. AJ Brown said it was Wednesday of last week that you have to understand there are times in training camp when they're trying new things, right? But I interpreted Nick Sirianni's answer the same way you did, that they want him like to make these right decisions. Actually, Sirianni had it wasn't to your question, I think it was to the first question of the day, when he said they've gone back and like shown in meetings these decisions and said this was the right decision, like you went right where you were supposed to on this play, right? And so I think that's what they're looking for here.
And his point was also that the offense in general, everybody was doing the right thing, which is why he said he has been pleased with the passing offense so far. There was one other thing I was going to say, and I've not forgotten it. So there you go. All right, Zach. Anybody else stand out to you during the team drills on the offensive side of the ball?
So I mentioned AJ Brown, right? And it was just because it was one play, but it was so obvious that when Sheil, our former co-host, who was at practice today,
sorry, I don't know who that is.
Sheil was gazzing up, to use the phrase I would say, gazzing up AJ Brown about how fun he is to watch for the fans, right? And I think when you see AJ Brown in the open field, you see why that is. To me, it reminds me. This might come off as hyperbole. It reminds me almost like T.O., right? When T.O. gets the ball in the open field with a head of steam, good luck to the defensive back who needs to bring him down. AJ Brown's built that way. He runs that way, and I think that's what you saw on that slant. Who else jumped out in practice? I think Miles Sanders had a good practice, right? Miles Sanders. Now it's
Well, let's get into this as
Okay.
Berman Sanders Gate continues and moves on into day 2, or at least practice 2, maybe day 3. There was a bit of a continuation of this storyline early in practice.
This has nothing to do with me, Bo.
We don't know that.
Miles Sanders went for a big run, and he seemed to have something to say to somebody
Did some
or
yapping,
to
did
a
some
camera.
jawing.
Yeah, no, I was in the opposite corner. I was so to be the eyes for our listeners and our viewers here. The Eagles have 3 practice fields. Okay, when they are on the middle field, you can't stand on the sideline. So the only place that you can watch it is from the end zone, from the far end zone usually. And in that case, you can either stand toward a side and look at from an angle as you did, or they have stairs. They have seating that you can stand on, and you can and you get the bird's eye view. Now it is from a distance, but that's where I was. So when you're there, you're a little farther from the action, so you can't hear any of the dialogue, if you will. And so I don't know what Miles Sanders was saying or who he was saying it to.
Said, where's Zach? Where's the handsome guy?
I don't
Did you
think he
see
was
that?
saying that, but if he said that, I would appreciate the nice words. Thank you. But Miles Sanders had a nice run. He's been running the ball, in my opinion, really well this summer. Now, I frame it that way, running the ball, because, like you pointed out, the first day he bobbled a pass, and you've seen, I think, Gainwell more in the passing game early on than we've seen Miles in the passing game. But Miles looks healthy. He looks explosive, and as long as he stays healthy, I think he's in line to have a really good season.
And as we've talked about, I think in a more running back friendly situation than probably any running back in the entire league. So in a contract year,
not necessarily
a chance for him to have a monster year.
So
well, I say that because the offensive line is very good.
Yes.
And because the quarterback takes so much attention away from just the running back because of his running ability. I think now I understand your counterpoint might be volume, but on a per play basis, I think he's in as friendly an opportunity as anybody.
I mean, I certainly don't want to put words in Miles Sanders' mouth, right? But Miles Sanders had a podcast this summer with John Clark where he kind of suggested that, like, the volume isn't there, right? So
maybe for once he could prove that he could handle that volume without getting injured.
We'll see. So, but I think he's had a good summer, and I thought he had a good day today. And part of it might be like the Jordan Matthews effect, where when you finish all your runs all the way to the end zone, like it stands out as exactly. But what jumps out to me is the acceleration, like the explosiveness. He's getting through the hole and to the corner pretty quickly this summer.
Now, speaking of John Clark and speaking of Miles Sanders, I had a couple questions from subscribers about the rabbit-eared nature of some of the Eagles. It seems like you've got AJ Brown, paying attention to the chatter about Jalen Hurts over the summer and being pretty responsive. You've got the Miles Sanders situation. You've got Jalen Reagor responding to a John Clark tweet about Reagor having drops in camp, which I didn't notice, but I may not have been paying attention to that part of the field at the time. I might have been watching O-line, D-line one-on-ones. Is this a thing that's on your radar? Are you worried that players are paying too much attention to what the yokels like us are writing?
Not necessarily, right? I think this is fairly common now. Social media tends to give a forum, if you will, and then perhaps that's a good thing. But in essence, wasn't Jason Kelce's whole Super Bowl speech? Well, not whole, but a big chunk of his Super Bowl speech was about this very topic, right? Like responding to narratives. And so no, I don't think it's a big deal. I know it gets attention. I mean, you can say their attention should be allocated elsewhere, But to me, like, you know, they're going to be paying attention to it. I kind of find it laughable sometimes when like they act like they don't know what's being said or written about them. It's
I don't know
I'll
who
give a
wrote this,
slight.
but somebody, Bob. It's Bob's job to tell me what you guys are going to
Yeah.
ask about. So he told me.
I'll give a slight pop culture reference here,
Here we go.
which is I hope I don't screw this up because I don't know the song and I don't know who sings it. But I was in an airport one time and I heard this on, and I remember the lyrics stuck out to me.
Okay.
There's a song, and I'm sure you probably know it, Bo, because you're a big music guy.
I don't want anybody else.
The lyric was you're so vain, you probably think this song is about you. And I remember being
Classic,
in the airport, and I remember hearing it and thinking like, well, the song is about this person, so how vain are they actually, right? So it's like they always say, like, nobody cares what you guys say, but clearly, like, if you're responding to that, then you care what is being said, right?
Would you be surprised to know that the name of that song is "You're So Vain"?
I would not. I remember that lyric. And who sang it?
Would you like to take a guess as we enter Zach's pop culture corner?
I literally have no idea.
The answer is Carly Simon.
Okay.
Carly Simon. Would you, if I had said that name to you, would you have known that was a person in the zeitgeist? This is an old song.
No,
that name.
I'm looking in our chat now. Claire Flaxman says, "How does Zach not know this song?"
Yeah, it's a very
Claire. I'm sorry to tell you,
popular
that,
song.
Claire, there's a lot of things that I feel confident I can speak with intelligence about. Music is not high on that list, right? So, And
as you let it be known, the song that you did a wonderful job with during the Ospreys, "Friends in Low Places," you had never heard that song before. So it tells you what a talented musician you are. You're able to turn that bad boy around.
I heard the song. I mean, I probably heard it in like a restaurant or but I didn't know the song per se. But yeah, I don't listen to music in the car. I listened to a great podcast this morning. It was Michael Lewis, the author, and it was about this fascinating. I don't know. We don't need to get into it.
Let's hear it. We've already started on it.
It was about this government employee who spent 15 years learning about or studying about how things drift in the sea, and it's ended up saving all these people. It was really interesting. So, yeah, I listened to that this morning. I did not listen to music in the car.
How many podcasts do you listen to a week?
Good question.
Claire.
Like episodes or different podcasts? Like
how many podcasts are on your regular rotation that you
probably like 8 or 10. But then I'll search. If I read something about somebody or like someone has a book coming out, for instance, I'll search them and I'll listen to a certain interview they might have done, or I saw my I don't know. We don't need to get into this.
No, we're here.
I went with my in-laws to see To Kill a Mockingbird this summer, right? And in preparation for that, like I searched, different interviews that Aaron Sorkin had done about To Kill a Mockingbird and Jeff Daniels when he was the lead in it. So, in any event,
Sorkin rewrote the play?
Yes. It's his adaptation.
Pretentious. Sorkin, get your own stuff. This is a classic. We don't need you.
He did a terrific job. I would recommend anyone who hasn't seen it to see it. It's terrific. Anyways, let's get back to football. But the reason that came up is because
the chutzpah to think that you can improve on To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, only Aaron Sorkin could deal with this American classic.
That's what he was saying in the interview in the podcast, is that like it's so intimidating because it's hard to improve on this. So he just kind of has a different version of it.
Better?
I see John Dickerson. John Dickerson says Zach does know it was a book, right?
Yeah,
yes, John. I've read that book a number of times. Yes.
Books. You can give Zach some.
Yes,
some
exactly.
credit.
Music, I can't. Books. I'm glad to talk to you about books.
What's the Mockingbird song? You might not know, but
From Dumb and Dumber, like mock,
yeah. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I know that one.
All right, let's take a little break and come back and talk some more defense. What else we saw at practice today? Trade coffee. You've heard me talk about it before, and we're not talking about the coffee that Howie Roseman is sipping on draft night when he trades for A.J. Brown, or in the dog days of August when he trades Ryan Bates for Eli Harold. We're talking about Trade Coffee, which connects customers to the freshest and best tasting coffee they've ever made at home by partnering with the country's best craft roasters. These are independent businesses from big cities and itty-bitty towns. Trade customers are truly impactful for these independent roasters, often being the largest source of new growth for them. There's also the Trade First Match Guarantee. Trade is so confident that they will match you right the first time that if they don't, they will take your feedback and an actual coffee expert will work with you to send a brand new bag for free. Gratis. No cost. That's how confident they are. That's a big trade. Now listen. Whether your friends call you a coffee snob or you just know it when coffee tastes really perfect, Trade's real coffee experts personally taste test over 450 roasts so they know exactly what to recommend for you. Trade has delivered over 5 million bags of fresh coffee with more than 750,000 positive reviews. And the good news for you is right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of 30 bones off your first order, plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/BWF. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. So get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/BWF and let Trade find you a coffee that you'll love. That's drinktrade.com/BWF for $30 off. And don't forget, week 1 of the season's coming up. A Trade subscription is the perfect gift for the football lover in your life. Go Trade. I know we got some listeners who are busy people, whether that means you're juggling kids and work, or it means you've got your own stuff going on, work is dragging you down, you just don't feel like making dinner. It's hard figuring out what to do for dinner 7 nights a week. Are you kidding me? That's nuts. Well, that's where Freshly comes in. Take a load off. Let them do the work for you. With Freshly, you're not stuck with fast food chains or frozen dinners when you want a quick meal. Freshly provides delicious, effortless, balanced meals without having to sacrifice your summer moments. Other meal delivery options make you do all the work of prepping and cooking. Freshly, they ain't like that. Freshly comes ready to heat and eat in 3 minutes or less. Heat and eat! That's neat! Sweet. Designed by nutritionists, prepared by chefs, then delivered right to your door. That's the Freshly deal. Freshly has delicious, fresh, healthy meals, and getting the food you love is incredibly easy. Not only that, this is not going to set you back too much. Freshly is affordable and convenient. Skip the grocery shopping and the dirty dishes. Your meals arrive cooked and fresh every week, and now you can try Freshly with $125 off across your first 5 orders. Make summer dinners stress-free with Freshly. Right now, you can get $125 off your first 5 orders at freshly.com/birds. That's $125 off at freshly.com/birds. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn back on Birds with Friends. Zach, Frankie Montas traded to the Yankees during the break. How do you feel about that? How does that help your fantasy team?
Yeah, big move for the Yankees. And the number 2 team in my league has Frankie Montas and on an expiring contract. So curious to see how that affects the trade market.
Marissa, how are we feeling about the Bombers?
Whatever to win. That's the Yankee motto, right? Watching the Jeter doc, it's like all the, those late 90s teams and all the championships. So haven't won since 2009. So ready to go back into October. I know Phillies fans listening to this are probably hating all of this, but that's where I draw the line. Jeter, Yankees, that's always been my team. So
enjoying that Jeter doc.
Yeah, it's really good.
Zach,
really
what
good.
place are you in?
Right now, I'm in 5th.
5th? And how many
Yes.
teams?
16.
16. And we're talking both leagues?
Yes.
Okay. 5x5?
Yes.
Okay. On base
Yes.
percentage or average?
Batting average.
Okay. I'm in 3rd place in our NL only league.
Of how many teams?
Of 10. But NL only. So I have no idea what kind of season Frankie Montas is having because he's irrelevant to me.
He's having a
But
good year. He was
now,
out
because
for a
this
bit
is-
with an injury, and he came back, looked good in his last start, and his next scheduled start will now be with the Yankees.
Well, this is an interesting league because it's the NL only, except it's also the Yankees. This was a new rule instituted 2 years ago because the player pool was a little bit too diluted. Like there was nobody available on the waiver wire. So every year they would rotate through a different American League team, and that team wasn't a keeper. It would be like a fresh team every year. But people got tired of that, and they wanted the Yankees to be in permanently, which I objected to. I liked the old wrinkle, but unfortunately, I didn't win out on that argument. So Frankie Montas now into the player pool can be claimed by the 8 p.m. waiver deadline.
There you go.
So is
Back
that
to
what
the
you're
Eagles.
going to do in the second half of this podcast?
No, I don't think we're
He's
going to
getting
go.
Zach's take.
I don't think we're going to go 3.5 hours longer on a 45-minute practice, but I could be wrong. Zach,
Mhm.
you know, I am just but a humble takesman.
Did that offend you? Because you referenced it today to Shield.
Yeah, it only offended me deeply to my core, and I have still not gotten over it. Yeah, I would say.
Did Sheil listen, or did you have to explain the
No,
situation?
he listened.
Shield has notes.
Oh,
She
that's,
has
that's so great.
Yeah,
So good to hear.
Takesman implies like intellectual dishonesty. Like I'm not telling, like I'm saying things for a reaction, not because I actually believe them.
That was not the implication whatsoever. That might have
That's
been
how
the
it was
inference,
received.
but it was not the implication. The implication was that you're someone who has strong opinions. That's good. You have takes.
No,
Right?
I don't think that's
You're
right.
not-
I think a takesman implies intellectual dishonesty, and it's funny because I was like in the middle of saying that, and EJ Smith finished my sentence. He said intellectual dishonesty. I was like, thank you. That's exactly right.
No,
So that is.
All right. So I view takesman as someone who like takes a position, has a strong, and by the way, Bo, if there's anything I've learned in my 4 years doing this podcast with you, is you take a position. You're not one who's like who's dancing.
Well, I think
with
there's a
one
difference
foot
between the
in middle.
podcast and like the written word, but yeah.
No, but on the spot, you take a position on the spot.
Yeah, I try, but
There
I
aren't
mean,
topics where
but
you're
it's
just
what I
like,
be-
I'm
but it's what I
ambivalent
believe.
with it.
It's, you know,
or players or coaches or owners. It's like you're very much like, this is what I think about.
but there are
this
things that
player,
I feel
this coach,
strongly
and so on.
about. Yeah, I'm not gonna takesman you about practice. You know, you're getting on me because I'm poo-pooing the like what matters of one day of non-padded practice and saying we shouldn't draw grand conclusions. But I'm not being a takesman there.
I mean, for the sake of this podcast, I will concede then you are not a takesman.
No, the cat is out of the bag here.
Okay.
Now I know what you really think of me, and it's hard for me to look at you and myself in the mirror.
Wow, Bo, I said before. Now we don't need to puff you up here, and we should get back to talk about the Eagles. But and this is a good transition to it. I said before to you and Marissa, you are so good at the practice observations. I read your practice observations from the the Saturday session you did it? Yeah, Saturday session. And I thought like it was you brought the readers there. It wasn't just like here are some thoughts from practice. Like you documented snap by snap. This is what was happening. This is what happened in the one-on-ones. So that's a good way of saying
This feels
here
unnecessary.
is
You know,
let's
gas me up for
let's
this.
get into Bo. You were watching those one-on-ones
Hmm.
today, O-line versus D-line. What did you see?
Well, here's my number one takeaway as a takesman. Jordan Davis getting a lot of gas for his performance today. You know, worked with the ones. He had a couple dominant reps in one-on-ones. One of them was against Will Dunkel. So take that with a grain of salt. You know, Will Dunkel should not be able to block Jordan Davis. For those of you who don't know, let's try to do this part. Will Dunkel, undrafted offensive lineman, rookie out of San Diego State. One of them was against my guy, Coyote Awashika, in which he sort of gave him a a strong arm and was able to create some space and push the pocket. One of them was against Jack Anderson, who was a 6th-round pick last year. And that was his most impressive rep of the day. He sort of just sidestepped him and swam right past him. But when he went head-to-head with Cam Jurgens, stonewalled. And Jurgens later on, or maybe before, stonewalled Renell Wren, who is, a guy who's been in the league and equally, maybe not quite as big as Jordan Davis, but, 320 pounds, a big, strong, powerful man. And I think if you were worried about Cam Jurgens, like his matchup wise, it would be against those big fellas, and he handled both of them. And I think he's been, it's not in pads, so take it all with a grain of salt. But through the first 4 days of practice, I think Cam Jurgens has been very good. So very early going, has not been live. Who knows what will happen with his career? But I would say a very good start to Cam Jurgens' career to my eye.
That's a good recap of what occurred.
Okay.
I was in the middle field watching 7-on-7s when those 1-on-1s were going on. So I was watching Jalen Hurts in the offense and the secondary, but I thought you did a good job there.
Some other big picture takeaways from those matchups. Jordan Mailata looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He was good.
Should have taken your advice with the contract, huh?
He should have.
I was thinking about that yesterday, by the way, when I saw Orlando Brown is playing out. He's playing the year on the franchise tag, right? He's going to play it out. If Jordan Mailata played out last year, and there's always a risk, but man, what his value would have been this year.
Yes, he's so young. He had a rep where he swallowed up Josh Sweat. It was very impressive. He looks good. Lane Johnson shut down Hassan Reddick, which I feel like you probably would expect, face to face. Good job by Lane Johnson. Andre Dillard, I think, looks a little bit better than last year. Not quite as overpowered. He took 2 reps against Derek Barnett and decisively won the first. And then it was sort of like a stalemate on the second one. Dillard won the initial exchange, but then Barnett rather found a way to, second effort his way to the quarterback, but probably took too long. Dunkel was a disappointment. Coyote was okay. Took some reps at left tackle. LaRaven Clark versus Patrick Johnson was a very popular matchup, and Clark won more of those than he did not. Let's see what else. 1 rep. He only took 1 rep, but we're talking about a down roster player. He's a 3rd team, 4th team Sam linebacker. Undrafted rookie Ali Fayyad showed a little bit of juice as a pass
Western
rusher.
Michigan, right?
Western Michigan. That was nice.
Which got a big shout out in the Jeter documentary.
Yeah.
Right? That's where Jeter's father went to the
I don't think
that's why they moved to Kalamazoo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
His dad played baseball at Fisk.
Fisk University. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Charles.
Sua looked
Don't
pretty
mind
good.
me.
It was actually, you generally speaking, the defense has the advantage in offensive line, defensive line, one-on-ones, and the offensive line was much better overall than the defense, I would say.
Did the Browns camp have O-line, D-line today? One-on-ones?
They did not. They did have live periods though.
Okay.
So I was able to watch that. Although
like tackle to the ground?
Not tackle to the ground.
Okay.
Just like team periods.
Thud. Okay.
But it's very hard to see. I'm like squinting. So I can move around this year, thankfully, because there's more openness without the COVID restrictions.
Sure.
But
Naked HD chimes in on the chat. Yeah. Have a good time. Find love.
Oh, geez.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, the second spots are in. It must have been the Ali Fayyad drop that got them in.
Yeah. So to give you guys an update on what the Eagles were wearing at practice today, they had shoulder pads on. They had shoulder pads on and shorts. They were not full. It was not full pads. They will be full pads tomorrow, like Bo said at the start of this podcast. There will not be tackling to the ground, which is not uncommon based on the way the Eagles have done it in recent years, both under Nick Sirianni and Doug Peterson. They got away from the tackling later in Doug Peterson's time as coach. Early on, he had it. I'm the one who asked that question, and I did not. I should have asked if it's going to be different for the joint practices. And my guess is that Sirianni's not there yet, right? And that's a discussion with the coach, with Kevin Stefanski and Mike McDaniel. But those are, at least for the Eagles training camp, no tackling to the ground.
I forget we're gonna have some like Mike McDaniel time. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And the Browns, I should say, and the Browns.
It's not that I'm looking forward to seeing the Browns. I'm looking forward to seeing one of their offensive linemen and being in Cleveland. That's really
and getting the band back together.
right. Exactly.
Yeah,
see everybody's seeing each other's legs.
Yeah.
See,
I got to see Mike Sando's legs on Saturday.
And
He's got tall legs. He's got really tall legs. I knew he was tall.
Long stems on Sando.
Yeah, somebody's told me he's tall, but it was great getting to see him. He's on a
Tall drink of water.
He's on a whole training camp tour on like Midwest East Coast. So nice little surprise. Great to see.
I wonder if we'll get him in Philly.
I think he said he was going to Philly. I don't remember. He's going a lot of places. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So while I was watching O-line, D-line, what did I miss that was going on during 7-on-7s?
So I'm sorry. It's what I was mentioning there with Hurts. More drop-offs. The short passing game. Nothing really jumped out there. I thought Boston Scott did a good job. He was mixing in with the first team. He jumped out there. Marcus Epps had an interception today, but that was in team drill. That was a Gardner Minshew pass.
It was the 2 offense against the 1 defense.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll say this, Marcus Epps, we can talk about him every session here or every podcast. He's jumping out to me. And
I think he's their best safety.
Yeah. Like first off, there's no safety competition for his spot. He's the guy. There's no shuffling in and out. He's making the most of his opportunity. And I don't think this is like I'd say confirmation bias where he's out there. So it's like, it's almost like a bias you have to confirm that he's out there. Objectively speaking, he's playing well. Yes. And I'm not going to say that's definitively going to or definitely going to translate, but so far he looks good.
I agree with that. There's a down roster player who's starting to flash a little bit for me. And it's not someone who I would be predisposed to liking. And that is third-team safety Reed Blankenship. He's not there yet.
Why wouldn't you be predisposed to like him?
Well, because he's an overager and he's a white guy.
Okay.
Call it like we see it. Some good movement skills. He seems to be around the ball when he needs to be. I'm not, he's in the mix to potentially be the camp crush. Not there yet. Mario Goodrich, who I called out the other day for a little flash. Not going to happen. Not going to happen with my guy Mario.
You've already made that decision.
Yeah, it's not him. He's pretty stiff.
Okay.
The more that flash made me focus on him, and the focusing stiff as a board. So
Sean Bradley, by the way. He's been showing up this camp and had an interception.
I think the linebacker situation is really interesting.
Yes, and the way I wrote it in the practice observations is think back to 2020. I mean, Sean Bradley and Davion Taylor showed up to training camp like with a chance to earn playing time, right? It didn't work out that way, and I think the defensive coaches kind of determined earlier on that these guys weren't ready for showtime, but that the plan was for them to go to camp and try to earn a job or try to earn playing time. 3 years later, those guys, or 3 seasons later, those guys have improved, but now they're competing for backup spots, right? I mean, the top of the linebacker depth chart is pretty much set. I mean, we heard Nick Rowis speak today about Kaiser White, about TJ Edwards, about Nakobe Dean. To me, it really shows how they've improved the depth chart there, that these guys are now your backups.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep all 5 guys. We'll see.
Jacoby Stevens, saying that. I think they're going to keep all 5.
I think probably, but I don't think it's definite. if you got to squeeze somewhere, I don't know. And Jacoby Stevens had an interception the other day in one-on-ones actually, which was impressive. So somebody asked about him in the chat. I think he's got a shot too. Interesting position to follow in the preseason games, because as we've talked about, I think the toughest position to judge in training camp because they're not going live and you don't know exactly what their responsibilities are. All right, one more break here and then back to talk about maybe what we heard from some of the other press conferences. And I have a Britton Covey story to tell you. Peloton isn't just about bikes and treadmills. It is a team of instructors ready to motivate you 24/7. With Peloton, there are literally thousands of classes ranging from strength training to yoga to running and boxing, which means Peloton is the perfect non-judgmental space to experiment with new types of movement at a level and pace that feel good for you. But what if you're super busy? It doesn't matter if you have 5 minutes or an hour, if you're an early riser or a fan of the evening burn, there's a Peloton class that fits into your day. Maybe you're looking for a 10-minute upper body stretch between calls or a 30-minute run before bed. Peloton is where you'll find what works for you on your schedule, wherever you happen to be, at home, at the gym, or even outdoors. Now, I'll tell you, I mostly use the bike. And what I like about the Peloton is, sometimes you feel like you want to choose your instructor based on like the kind of mood you're in, like who's gonna push you. Tune Day is a good motivator. I feel she gets me going. But sometimes you want to go for like what's gonna juke your stats the best. If you're feeling competitive, I feel like a Ben Aldis does that. A lot of climbing that really puts up those numbers. Sometimes you just want to, hang out with somebody. You want to laugh, maybe do a Cody Rigsby. Whatever you're feeling like, Peloton offers it, and it's exactly right. Sometimes you feel like you want a 20-minute quick workout. Sometimes you want to go for an hour and really feel good about yourself. Whatever you are in the mood for, Peloton offers. So try the Peloton bike or tread risk-free for 30 days. Learn more at onepeloton.com. New members only. Terms apply. Back on Birds with Friends, Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn. Zach, we heard from Nick Rallis post-practice. We heard from Nakobe Dean and Cam Jurgens and Kaiser White and one other person in the back. Who was that?
Jordan Davis?
Jordan Davis.
No, in the back or in the...
Yeah, there was somebody else in the mix.
Did you mention Quez Watkins?
Quez Watkins. Yeah, what were your takeaways from those conversations?
So I was not in on Quez. I was not in on Jurgens. I was in on Jordan Davis. I was in on Nick Rallis. I was in on Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean, so it was interesting. If you recall the 2019 Georgia defense, he was a true freshman there. He didn't start, but he got playing time just about every game that year. And I asked him what he did to get on the field early there.
Good question, yeah.
And he said it was just kind of fake it till you make it, right? And
he had one package that he was involved in, and then the more he was on the field, he sort of got to learn a little bit more.
But he can't fake it in the NFL.
His perspective was really interesting. I thought this was funny. He's talking about like, I'm here with guys like Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox who have been in the league, like doing this job for 10, 12 years. Like 10, 12 years ago, I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. Like these guys have been doing this job since I was 9 years old. That's crazy. And it is crazy.
Yeah. It was good perspective. I thought Jordan Davis talked a lot about, that the key for him is just going forward as opposed to kind of occupying space. That's the difference with the way he's being used. The playbook's not hard. He's at 300, or he's trying to be like between 335, 340. That's the target for him. And so that's what jumped out from Jordan Davis. Nick Rallis, it was kind of player by player.
Linebackers coach, just for
linebackers coach. Talked about his early morning meetings with
Davion
Taylor. He purposefully did not go overboard about Nakobe Dean. Regarding Kaiser White, he said it really benefited Kaiser White being in the Chargers defense last year because there were similarities between what the Chargers do and what the Eagles want their linebackers to do. And then regarding TJ Edwards, said that he just knows everything now. He's playing fast, and that's the big key. You already know that he processes quickly, but it's just playing quickly is the other part of it. So that's what jumped out there. I heard Quez Watkins said that he's the fastest player in the NFL. Is that right?
Yes, that was his claim.
Okay.
Seems aggressive, but like the kind of, self-belief that you would want someone like that to have.
Now, Bo, I mean, you took Takesman to be an insult, a compliment. You had a take leading up to the draft that he was the best of the day 3 receivers.
Yeah,
right?
but that's not a take. That's like it's a belief or like an opinion. Like a take, like.
So what's the difference between an opinion and a take?
A take is like LeBron James is like not even a top 10 player of all time. Like a take is something you're saying like for a reaction.
Okay, so that's where this is lost in translation. I don't view it that way. I mean, I recall being at my college radio station when Nick Wright said I need to have more takes, right? Like he said I was too much into the information. He's like, people want your opinion. You need to have a take. And so I view take as like, this is my take on something. This is my opinion on it, right?
There's some nuance here, as you'd like to say.
Demetrius Nichols. Yeah, Demetrius Nichols is like the most underrated player on Syracuse's team. That's a take, right? And it's not like an outlandish opinion, right? You support it with X, Y, and Z. So when I say take, I was paying you a compliment that you have.
It was not a compliment. Whether or not it was as offensive as you intended it to be, it was not a compliment.
I certainly did not intend to offend you, Bo.
Well, I was offended.
I would offended. I would say I do not want to poke that bear, right? So I am not messing with you there.
They're calling me a bear? We should mention that Vic Fangio in attendance for the 3rd consecutive day after a day off. I think that means I don't know, what does that mean? Now Sirianni was asked a little bit about Fangio, but was sort of referencing him in line with like guys who come through. But I don't know. Feels like 3 days in a row is noteworthy.
Yeah, shout out to the chat for pointing that out, saying, is he a potential consultant? I don't know. 3 days in a row.
So Nick Sirianni said regarding that he allows coaches to come if people on their staff trust him. And then also you hope that you can get something from that person too in conversations, right? That you hope it's a two-way street. So Vic Fangio has relationships with people on the staff, and that's why he's there now. He's from like Pennsylvania now. Dunmore's not near or it's not like close to Philadelphia, but I don't know if he takes up residence around here. Anyways, yeah, he was there. Jim Smith, the defensive coordinator from IUP, was there last week. You can read all about actually Jim Smith's relationship with Nick Sirianni in a story I wrote last year about Nick Sirianni's days recruiting at IUP. And next week, Sirianni's brother, or this week, Sirianni's brother is going to be there. I don't know I don't know which brother it's going to be.
I assume he means Mike, the head coach at what is it called?
At Washington.
Washington and Jefferson, because the other brother has been at camp already.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Is there something with like fanfic, Vic fan, like fanfic? Would you do some Vic fanfic? Would you write a story of imagining Vic Fangio's life as a unemployed guy visiting training camps and the kind of nonsense he might get up to? There's some Vic stories fanfic.
There's some stories I would throw my hand in for. That one is all yours.
It's a mouthful. Here's something I saw as we were interviewing, I forget who, during the in the mixed zone. Now, to paint this picture, there's the press conference tent outside, and then there's one little setup with microphones behind that so that 2 people can be giving talks at the same time. In years past, you could just sort of grab guys as they were coming off the field during training camp. That is no longer the case. So right now it's like two people talking at a time. You don't get one-on-ones, the world we live in.
Tough for the Wolves then.
Yeah, not ideal. But we were talking to somebody in the mix zone, and I noticed Jeffrey Lurie was at practice for the first time of camp today. And Britton Covey, the undrafted rookie wide receiver from Utah, makes his way over and just inserts himself to introduce himself to Jeffrey Lurie. Do you think this is a smart move by Britton Covey? Do you think this is a savvy move by an overaged rookie, maybe knowing the game a little bit more? Or is this a thirsty move by a guy who's trying to be a bit of a Johnny try-hard and maybe focus on your job instead of trying to run things up the chain?
I think it's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Okay, explain.
All right, Bo, now this is a reference you need to understand.
Well,
okay?
I've heard of the book, but I don't know the 7 habits.
Do you know who wrote the book?
I want to say, who's that guy with the big head?
I have no idea who
Is that the guy? Who wrote it?
Stephen Covey, who's the grandfather of Britton Covey.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Wait,
Good job.
wow,
Good work,
that was some good connections, Zach.
Yes. So
nice.
Yeah. So that's something that a highly effective person would do, right?
Wow.
What's the habit?
What's that?
What's the habit?
You got to read the book.
Can you tell me what the one of the 7 it is, or
you're gonna have to read the book?
Okay.
But yeah. So no, I think it's a nice. You go up and you introduce yourself. Especially was Jeffrey by himself
he was.
at that time?
Jeffrey was alone at the
there.
moment. Yeah, he did not.
So there you go. I mean, we've had times when we've been at like a company dinner and I'm waiting to introduce myself to someone from the company,
Marissa.
but they're mid conversation with someone else, right? So that's a great move by Britton Covey.
If I were one of his teammates and I saw that, I mean, I would be crushing him. I'd be razzing him nonstop. Yeah. You call him a kiss ass. You call him a suck up.
No, all you're doing is
Mr. Lurie, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Britton Covey. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay.
I just want to make you proud.
Okay, you know what?
That's what I would say if I were his teammate, not as a impartial journalist.
If you read the book, Bo, okay, you would know one of the things they tell you is to be proactive, right? That would strike me as a proactive thing to do.
Zach, do you think this is a take that Bo has that he wouldn't do that?
I mean, to me, like all the guy did was go up and introduce himself, right? Like that's a nice thing.
It was an interesting discussion,
There's nothing. And your opinion is that's a suck up move to do? No, we're all adults here, right? You should go up and introduce yourself to somebody.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he's like
looking to
introduce,
credit to Jeffrey Lurie for being approachable, right?
Well, he didn't have a choice. He was walking by himself.
So I once did this, by the way, and I learned kind of the hard way.
To Jeffrey,
no? Well, I've done that when I got on the beat. I did that to Jeffrey, but my first day on the Giants beat, I went up and introduced myself.
That's a good story.
I've told you that, and
in the cafeteria, right?
Yes, yeah. I think that he was he's like, why is this short guy coming up to me and introducing himself to me?
I think he probably thought handsome guy instead of short guy.
Yeah, did the same thing. I remember the Tom Coughlin. Yeah. So it's something, frankly, that
you said you should have introduced yourself 5 minutes ago.
No, he did not say that. I don't think it's a bad thing to do.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I just, I think it's an interesting thing.
I'm surprised you didn't know that about his grandfather.
Me too. It's bad job. It's because I'm spending too much time on my takes and not enough time researching the beat.
Well, you got to think win-win.
Britton Covey, by the way, he talked to the media on Saturday, and a nice guy, very aware of his limitations and what he what the value that he brings is. I would say not ideal when when a rookie has a similar receding hairline to me. Just
So you said
not
about,
ideal.
Okay. I think you have a nice head of hair, Bo.
It's held on longer than I would have thought, 10 years ago, I would say.
Okay.
I thought it was going downhill pretty quickly. It's holding on for dear life.
You don't get it cut that frequently. But it's
That's
nice
true.
head of hair.
Because
Yes.
because my guy Cosmo, I gotta like make a whole deal out of it. I gotta make a whole thing. Not like you get yours cut like every 9 days.
No, that's not true.
Back when you lived in the city, at least.
4 weeks. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was more frequently than 4 weeks.
Sometimes 3.
Okay.
But yeah.
I do need a haircut.
Anyways, let's talk football.
I mean, let's just end the show. Yeah, I mean,
okay. Yes.
Not much more to talk about.
Wait, so just real quick before we finish this up, let me pull up my notes here with some other things that we might want to discuss. Gardner Minshew, I don't think has had a particularly strong summer. I
think he's made some really nice throws, but he's also been sloppy with the ball.
Yeah, he had 2, and it's not something I would be worried about at all. I still think he's one of the better backups in the NFL, but this is our first summer watching him. If you recall, he was acquired after the 3rd preseason game last year. Trying to see here.
Carson Strong has not been very good for sticking on the quarterbacks. Rates in that has been far superior.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's good for today. I saw in some other people's notes, I didn't point this out because it's not something that I wrote down or observed. But Brandon Graham jumped out to people. He lined up on the interior today, apparently.
Okay.
And so something
he did some good work in one-on-ones, but it was not as noteworthy because he was working against the number 2 offensive lineman. So Brandon Graham should make easy work of Will Dunkel or even Jack Driscoll, which he did. So
did not point this out in the practice observations, but if we are observing the daily events of practice, wouldn't overstate this, wouldn't understate it, just saying what it is. Derek Barnett jumped off sides. Okay.
Yeah, I did forget that, and I didn't mean to mention it so that we could get
Derek Barnett
IR.
jumped off sides here, and it was. And
I will say that people who I was standing next to, it was very much on their radar to look for you to see what your reaction was when Derek Barnett jumped off sides. Did you rip the buttons off your shirt or throw your notebook on the ground?
And my notebook is over there right now. I don't want to get out of the shot, but no. All I
very
did was
calmly, you just wrote in your notes, it's always him.
I wrote 96 offsides. I got to say, sometimes I write notes, and then when I go back and look at it like an hour and a half, I'm like, what was I?
It happens to me too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't write complete sentences. I just write number, and so I'll write like 6 catch, right, for Devontae Smith.
I can decode that for you.
But you're like, what specifically occurred there, right? So yeah, I probably need to be, and I need to take a lesson from you because your practice observations, the details.
Well, it's very fleeting. Like I do the same thing, and if it's the same day, I can it will trigger the memory. I will remember what happened on that play. If I look at like Saturday's notes, it'll be tougher.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. There you go. All right, tomorrow, pads on, baby.
Yep.
Take a NyQuil tonight because otherwise you're not going to be sleeping. You're going to be too excited.
Yeah, but then I'm groggy the next day. That's the issue I've been having recently. Actually, if anyone in the chat,
a lot of NyQuil?
If anyone in the chat has a recommendation for something that helps you sleep, am I bumping the mic? Is that a thing I'm doing?
You were for a second there. It's okay.
Oh, sorry about that. If anyone in the chat has a
He's excited for the pads.
Yeah.
Has a recommendation to help you sleep, but it's not going to leave you drowsy,
melatonin,
groggy the next morning. Should I do that? Yeah, okay.
People like
try that.
It hasn't done much for me, but
okay.
People like it.
All right. And I'm sorry for banging the mic. Actually, I was on our on the Ospreys. I heard like a sound in the background. Was that my desk or me?
Yeah, moving your little stuff around sometimes.
Oh, my chair. It's probably my chair. Marissa, I'm sorry.
It's
Call it
okay.
little stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay. I try to remove it when I can. It's okay.
Well, I wish you told. Okay, I will be better. Next episode,
The Ospreys, you're just so excited.
People in the chat seem to be recommending some marijuana for you to go to sleep, Zach.
I don't think that's happening. Okay.
I'm just telling you, there have been like 5 recommendations in a row. Just, if the melatonin doesn't work, something to keep in your back pocket.
All right. Well, excited for practice tomorrow. Excited to keep my chair still tomorrow. And we're going to have much to discuss. It'll be the best day of practice yet.
That's exactly right. So for Zach and Marissa and Elijah, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.